You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Grown-ups, if there's a child in your life who is interested in, curious about, or fascinated by people and places from history, then my podcast, The Past and the Curious, might just be a hit in your home. From the invention of microscopes to world-traveling dogs to fashions of the 1890s, gold rush ghost towns, and audiences going wild for walking competitions, we've got a little bit of it all. Hosted by children's author and museum educator Mick Sullivan, that's me, the show is fun, funny, engaging, honest, and beloved by kids and parents alike. Find The Past and the Curious at all the usual podcast places.
This episode is brought to you by our Patreon members. Thank you so much.
Join our Patreon for extra episodes, interviews, extra content, and to help support the podcast and help us continue to do the work we do.
Go to patreon.com/ancienthistoryfangirl to learn more. It was a grower, not a shower. Philo is very specific about that. I'm Jenny Williamson.
And I'm Jen McMenemy.
And this is Ancient History Fangirl.
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
Oh, boy.
I'm so excited. It's our first episode of the season. It has been weeks, months since I got to say, yeah, it is. So, yeah, it is. We're back.
We're back. We are so thrilled to be bringing you this new season. It's a brand new season where we focus on the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And once we cover all the wonders, we're going to create our own list of 7 wonders outside of the Greco-Roman world. And then we're going to cover all of those. We are ambitious with this.
We are ambitious fucks. Oops. We're not even a minute in and I'm already swearing.
You're doing great.
I'm going to have some wine.
You haven't already been drinking because I think I'm ahead of you. So why did we decide to do this, John?
Well, the 7 wonders of the ancient world have always really fascinated me. I don't know why I should be interested in it, but it always seemed like something cool that I wanted to know more about. And while we were picking topics for the new season, we both kind of landed on well, what if we just did the 7 wonders? And then we looked up what the 7 wonders were and we were like, well, what if instead of just doing the 7 wonders, which are entirely Greco-Roman facing for the most part, we then added, as we've been doing this podcast a while, our own spin on it and did Ancient History Fangirl's 7 wonders and got to expand it a bit. Once we, got to understand what makes a wonder a wonder. I mean, so many wonders in this sentence.
So many wonders in this season. It's going to be wonderful. Yeah, I think for me, what inspired me to want to look at this is Jen and I are both working on books right now. Jen has a myth retelling about Dionysus and Ariadne. I, of course, have my spicy dark romance about Alaric of the Visigoths. And, we just needed something that was sort of just wildly different to dive into when we needed a break, or at least that's how I felt.
Listen, we're going to get back to doing seasons that are big, beautiful arcs. But as Jenny mentioned, we're both kind of in the middle of these other projects. And what I really wanted for myself was some more one-offs that I could dive into and really, understand and enmesh myself in. But that wasn't going to take away focus from, Jenny said I've got 1 book. I've actually got 3 projects I'm working on at the moment. Only 1 is sold. And it's a lot balancing it, even with my, my love of having different things going at the same time. So I needed my fangirl to give me that nerdy history love that would inspire me to do more work, but also not be so in the same world of what I was looking at that I would get completely overwhelmed.
Yeah. I think for me, it was let's do this as an outlet. Let's do this as an escape from our other escapes. Let's do this as something different. And so I think we're both really excited about it. It'll give us a chance to delve into big topics that I've always wanted to cover, like the Great Pyramid of Giza, and some little known things like the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus, whatever that is.
Or return to things that we know a little bit about. Like we're going to talk about the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. And that, as you all know from listening to other episodes that we've done, was a place where a lot of stuff went down, and it has the weirdest statue of Artemis ever, the one with all the boobs.
So many titties. Oh my God. Yeah, so we're going to explore all of that, and tell you more about the titties. Don't worry.
Yeah, and look, this is going to be a really fun season. You all know what our...
Light and fun!
Yeah, it is actually, we hope, going to be a lighter and funner season.
Every time we say that, I mean, it doesn't bode well. It's just don't overpromise is all I'm saying.
All right, we're not doing natural disasters all summer, okay?
Fair. I just remember halfway through the sex worker season, you shouted at me, I was promised a light, fun season.
It was awful. It was the season that we really went into the patriarchy, and I just was crying every night.
We'll get back to that. Don't worry. That's our wheelhouse. We'll always come back to that.
Yeah, but listen, this is going to be a really fun year, we think, that we're going back into a new season. And that's because we've got some really big plans. We're planning to jump all over the globe. We're going to start out with the original 7 wonders and then go to different areas of the world because there are so many ancient wonders that should be on that list, but weren't because, ancient scholars in Greece and Rome thought that they knew all the wonders of the world, but they were only in like a 300-mile radius. Anyway, as I was going to say, we've got many exciting things that we're planning for this season. We'll still be looking to talk to different historians and experts as and when they come up. And Jenny, do you want to tell them about the Romantasy Historical Fiction Mythology Book Club?
Yeah, before we get into this episode, which I swear to God, we're about to get into it. We are. But before we get into that, we wanted to tell you that we are also going to, as we run this season, kind of concurrently, we're also going to run sort of a book club where we invite authors on to talk about their books and books that we're reading that are more in the romance space and the romantasy space and things like that, because we both write in that area and it's a passion of ours. And we've been reading a bunch of books where we kind of looked at each other and we're like, there's a lot of crossover between this and what we do on Fangirl. And we already have myth retellings and authors who do myth retellings and historical fiction that have a romance plot but aren't romance novels. But we're like, why not? Why not invite some authors on who do that stuff? And so we're going to try to do that. We haven't approached anybody yet, but we'll see who we can get on, and fingers crossed that this works. But if you start to see some Ancient History Fangirl book club episodes in and among these history episodes, that is what that is. So we'll be talking to authors. We have a wish list of people we'd love to get on. I don't think we should say any names yet because we haven't actually asked anybody, but fingers crossed it goes well.
Our book club episodes will have their own branding on social media, and even when we drop them in the app, they won't take the place of any of our history episodes. They won't take the place of any conversations with historical experts about our topics that we're doing or anything like that. This is something that's just a little bit of an extra gift to you, our listeners, should you enjoy this area of history, romantasy, mythology.
Should you enjoy your history with a side helping of smut, as we do.
So that is our book club. That should mean you get maybe 3 episodes a month from us sometimes. Sometimes it'll only be 2. Sometimes it might be 4. So we're not quite weekly. We'll see how this goes, but you'll always have 2 history episodes from us every month.
And if you want guaranteed 4 episodes a month, sign up to our Patreon. You know where that is at this point, patreon.com/ancienthistoryfangirl, where we do extra content. We do videos. We do extra episodes that we couldn't fit into longer seasons and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, we also give you some little sneak peeks of episodes we're working on and our fiction that we're working on. Jenny is going to release the smut at some point in time and she's going to read a spicy chapter from her Alaric of the Visigoths novels.
I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a hint here. The reason it's taken so long is not because of me.
No, we're planning to release that smut at a very strategic, smutty time. I talk a little bit about my Dionysus book, and also, as I mentioned, I'm working on about 3 projects. My other project is a wrestling novel. So when I release the smut, it will be of a wrestling nature. Dionysus is not quite as smutty a novel. It's more of a literary mythology retelling. So that is what we've been working on behind the scenes, in addition to developing this new season for you. And we hope that you're super excited. If you aren't a patron, please come and join us on Patreon, because there'll be a lot of stuff going on there. And we'll also be sharing a lot on Instagram in particular, and we're pretty active on Threads. We also have our Facebook. So all that said, can we please talk about the 7 wonders? Oh, hang on. I just want to say one thing at the top here. Jenny's book about Alaric of the Visigoths is called Enemy of My Dreams. It is out in bookshops on the 4th of February, 2025. It has a date, y'all.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Yeah, I guess by the time this drops, I hope we'll have told people, but maybe not. You have heard it here first. February 4th, 2025. As of this recording, there isn't a pre-order link, but maybe there will be by the time this drops. I really don't know. We'll keep you posted.
We'll keep you posted if there is a pre-order link, but perfect for Valentine's Day. If you like your Valentine's all about having your city sacked by sexy Visigoths, then whew.
You know I love that shit. Okay, can we move on? So, our plan was to cover the 7 wonders of the ancient world, but before we got into the items on the list themselves and produced episodes on each item, we thought that we'd first introduce this series by talking about that list itself and its history. What the list of 7 wonders actually is, where it comes from, what its original context was, and how it's changed throughout the centuries, because it has. So this is that episode, the history of the list of 7 wonders of the ancient world. So, the 7 wonders of the ancient world is a list of 7 man-made structures that existed in the ancient Greco-Roman world. The list as we know it today consists of
the Great Pyramid of Giza,
the Colossus of Rhodes,
the Lighthouse of Alexandria,
the statue of Zeus at Olympia,
the Hanging Gardens of Babylon,
the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus,
and the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, or Ephesus. I'm not sure which one.
Pick one.
Ephesus.
Great. This list is comprised of structures, as we said, that existed in the ancient Greco-Roman world. It includes 2 structures in Egypt, 2 in Greece, 1 in what's now Iraq, and 2 in what's now Turkey. Of these, the only one that still stands today is the Great Pyramid, and historians question whether one of them, the Hanging Gardens, ever existed at all. The ancient Greeks used the word theamata, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, apologies to anyone who speaks ancient Greek, to describe the 7 wonders. This word translates to sites. So the oldest lists of 7 wonders could be more accurately translated as 7 sites. The word thaumata, wonders, came along later.
The earliest writer to create a list of wonders was supposedly Herodotus, and we think this was about 484 to 425 BC, around that time.
That was his lifespan, so somewhere while he was alive.
Yeah, somewhere in there. But his list doesn't survive. We just know about it from other later writers mentioning it. The same goes for the next oldest version of the list, written by a guy named Callimachus of Cyrene, who is the head librarian at the Library of Alexandria from about 305 to 240 BC. The list of 7 wonders does have a special tie to the Library of Alexandria. The next writer, chronologically, who also wrote a list of 7 wonders, was a guy named Philo of Byzantium. Although we should add that this is disputed, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Anyway, Philo of Byzantium also worked at the Library of Alexandria as an engineer, and he wrote a piece in 225 BC called On the 7 Wonders.
Supposedly, Herodotus' version, Callimachus' version, and Philo's version were all kept in the Library of Alexandria. But, whereas the first 2 didn't survive, except were referred to in other sources, the third did. And that's because it moved around. It didn't just stay in the library. It was taken to Byzantium at some point in its history where it was copied and disseminated throughout the Greco-Roman world. And probably because it was so widely disseminated, we still have a large part of this document. And I am going to read you the whole thing. This was a real choice that I made. Jen questioned this choice, but I thought it was a good way to introduce you to the 7 wonders and how they are described in an ancient source, in the first ancient source. So this is a translation by Hugh Johnstone from the book The 7 Wonders of the World, A History of the Modern Imagination by John and Elizabeth Romer. This is the only place I found this translation in its entirety, and I found it in World History Encyclopedia in an article by Joshua J. Mark. So I thought I would share it with you, and I will provide a link to where I got it from. So this is Philo's piece on the 7 wonders. Quote, "Everyone has heard of each of the 7 wonders of the world, but few have seen all of them for themselves. To do so, one has to go abroad to Persia, cross the Euphrates River, travel to Egypt, spend some time among the Eleans in Greece, go to Halicarnassus in Caria, sail to Rhodes, and see Ephesus in Ionia. Only if you travel the world and get worn out by the effort of the journey will the desire to see all the wonders of the world be satisfied, and by the time you have done that, you will be old and practically dead."
Legit.
That's really selling it, Philo.
Continuing onwards, because of this, education can perform a remarkable and valuable task. It removes the necessity to travel, displays the beautiful and amazing things in one's very own home, and allows one to see those things with one's mind, if not with one's eyes. If a man goes to the different locations, sees them once, and goes away, he immediately forgets. The details of the works are not recalled, and memories of the individual features fail. But if a man investigates in verbal form the things to wonder at and the execution of their construction, and if he contemplates, as though looking at a mirror image, the whole skillful work, he keeps the impressions of each picture indelible in his mind. The reason for this is that he has seen amazing things with his mind.
I mean, it seems like he'd just rather read about something than go see it himself.
Here's the thing. He sounds like he's the original armchair traveler, right? And that's fine. There are many places in the world I would love to see and probably will only get to see in books or on TV or in movies. But if you're able to travel, and it is one of those things that you do have to have the ability to do it, there is no substitute for it. Travel just gets you out of your own comfort zone a lot of times and lets you experience different things.
Yeah, well, just remember that if you want to see everything on the list, you'll be old and practically dead by the time you're done.
Absolutely. And, the reality is most people at this time couldn't afford to do that and still probably couldn't afford to do it.
But also travel was a lot more grueling then. I mean, you had to walk or ride a camel or a horse or a cart or, I don't know, get captured by pirates on a pirate ship. You know how it is. It was a lot more harrowing to travel back then.
If there are pirates coming for me, I'm just going to pray to Dionysus and be like, make them dolphins.
So I'm going to continue on with this quote. Quote, "What I say will be shown to be reliable if my words make a clear description of each of the 7 wonders and persuade the listener to acknowledge that he has got an idea of the spectacle. Of course, only the 7 wonders are commonly described as praiseworthy, insofar as other sights can be seen just as much as these, but the admiration for the 7 wonders and for other sights is different. For beauty, like the sun, makes it impossible to see other things when it is itself radiant." So he's just like, these structures are just so much better than all the other structures that they just outshine them so much that all you see is them.
Yes, and bear in mind, these are structures that are only pretty much, with a few exceptions, in the Greco-Roman world or the ancient Mediterranean. So I have side-eye.
Disney Plus wants to know, are you ready? For Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, The New Avengers, now streaming on Disney Plus.
Let's do this.
One of the best Marvel movies of all time is now streaming on Disney Plus.
Hey, you weren't listening to me.
I said Thunderbolts, The New Avengers is now streaming on Disney Plus.
Meet the New Avengers.
That's a cool name.
Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, The New Avengers, rated PG-13, now streaming on, you guessed it, Disney Plus.
Throughout history, royals across the world were notorious for incest. They married their own relatives in order to consolidate power and keep their blood blue. But they were oblivious to the havoc all this inbreeding was having on the health of their offspring. From Egyptian pharaohs marrying their own sisters to the Habsburgs' notoriously oversized lower jaws. I explore the most shocking incestuous relationships and tragically inbred individuals in royal history. And that's just episode 1. On the History Tea Time podcast, I profile remarkable queens and LGBTQ+ royals, explore royal family trees, and delve into women's medical history and other fascinating topics. I'm Lindsay Holiday, and I'm spilling the tea on history. Join me every Tuesday for new episodes of the History Tea Time podcast, wherever fine podcasts are enjoyed.
No one hates history, they just haven't found the right teacher yet. Or in this case, a nerdy best friend who loves to tell you all about world history, women's history, and weird history. Hi, I'm TK, the creator of For the Love of History podcast, a place for people who want to learn more but don't know where to start, and history lovers who want to break from the mainstream. From rat trials to warrior women, we cover topics from every country and era. Whether you're a history expert or just starting out, there's a place for you here in the Time Machine. So join me every Friday on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube for a brand new topic. See you there. Bye.
So, Jen, you want to start us off with his description of the first wonder?
Number 1, Hanging garden. The so-called hanging garden, with its plants above the ground, grows in the air. The roots of trees form a roof over the ground. Stone pillars stand under the garden to support it, and the whole area beneath the garden is occupied with engraved bases of the pillars. Individual beams of palm trees are in position, and the space separating them is very narrow. The wood from palm trees is the only kind of wood which does not rot. When they are saturated and under great pressure, they arch upwards and nourish the capillaries of the roots of the vegetation and admit into their own crevices roots that are not their own.
On top of these beams, a great amount of earth is poured to quite a depth. On top grow broad-leaved trees and garden trees, and there are varied flowers of all kinds. In short, everything that is most pleasing to the eye and most enjoyable. The area is cultivated just as happens on ground level. In much the same way as on normal ground, it sees the work of people who plant shoots. Plowing goes on above those wandering through the supporting colonnade. While people walk along the top, the land on top of the roof is motionless and, as in the most fertile region, remains pure. From above, aqueducts carry in running water. Along one way, the stream follows a wide downhill course. Along the other way, the water runs up under pressure. In a screw, the necessary mechanisms of the contraption make the water run round and round in a spiral. The water goes up into many large receptacles and irrigates the whole garden. It dampens the roots of the plants deep in the earth and keeps the earth moist. This is why the grass is always green and the leaves of the trees grow permanently nourished by the dew on tender boughs.
Again, this is still the quote. For free from thirst, the roots suck up the permeating water and form roaming entanglements among themselves below the ground and, as a unit, preserve the developed trees safe and sound. The masterpiece is luxurious and regal, and it breaks the laws of nature to hang the work of cultivation over the heads of spectators. So let's just break this down for a minute here. Like, the way this is describing to me is like the garden is upside down, right?
I didn't really get that. I see it as like elevated on some kind of a platform. Like what I'm envisioning just from this passage is like there's some kind of platform or something that these plants are growing on, and there's earth on the platform, and these roots are just growing all gnarled into the platform, and maybe like you can walk underneath it and see the roots, and there's various ways by which they pump water up there and keep everything up there irrigated. And like if you go up, it just looks like a regular garden, but you don't realize that it is in fact elevated.
Yeah, I don't know why I was picturing an inverted garden, but I mean, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, it's actually one of my topics this season. I'm super excited to dive into because, as you all know, I love my gardens. I love my greenery growing all around me. When I lived in the UK and over here in North Carolina, there are palm trees. Palm trees are incredibly hardy trees. And I'm just so fascinated to learn a little bit more about palm trees, their ornamental use and also their functional use here.
It's really cool, and I look forward to that episode because you can give us the whole rundown on how this water engineering worked and why people think it doesn't exist or does exist and what all the theories are. Because this is like a true ancient mystery in this season, is like, did the Hanging Gardens exist?
Yeah, and how did they work if they did exist?
Exactly, because it is a little bit questionable, right? It could be, who knows, inverted gardens, I guess. Like, the words hanging gardens do kind of invoke that. Like, parts of the garden could be hanging down. I mean, it's not unrealistic.
It's not unrealistic, but I honestly don't know the answer to the question.
So, let's move on to the next thing, which is the pyramids in Memphis. While it is impossible to build the pyramids in Memphis today, it is marvelous to describe them. Mountains have been built on mountains. The sheer size of the squared masonry is difficult for the mind to grasp, and everyone is mystified at the enormous strength that was required to prise up such a weight of material. A four-cornered base was set down, and hewn stones make up the foundations, which are of the same dimensions as the height of each structure above ground. Gradually, the whole work was brought up into a pyramid, tapering to a point.
Continuing this quote, its height is 500 feet, and the distance around the base is 3,600 feet. The whole polished work is joined together so seamlessly that it seems to be made out of one continuous rock. But, in fact, different colors and types of stone have been used in its construction. Here there is white marble, here there is black African stone, then there is also what is called, quote, the blood red stone, and a stone of variegated translucent green, brought, so they say, from Arabia. The colors of some of the stones are dark glass green. Others are almost quince yellow, while yet others have a color that is likened to the purple in conch shells. To one's astonishment is added pleasure, to one's admiration, respect, and to its lavishness, splendor.
The ascent is no less long or tiring than a road journey. Standing on the top and looking down, one can only dimly see the bottom. Royal wealth has woven extravagant expense alongside a pleasing array of colors. May its fortune boast that it believes that with its extraordinary expense it can touch the very stars. For it is through deeds such as these that men go up to the gods, or that gods come down to men. So that's really cool. I actually want to stop and talk about this because the pyramids is one of my topics. I haven't started on that episode as of this recording, but I really can't wait to. And what's interesting to me about this description is how his pyramid looks so unexpectedly different than how we see it today. Like, he's describing all these different colors of stone that are green and white and red and black. And it's like, where did all this color come from? Like, that's not how we imagine the pyramids today.
I was going to say, that's not how I imagine them at all.
Right. And I think some of that is that the pyramids were encased in the ancient world at a certain point. You didn't just see, these sort of kind of yellowy sandstone blocks. It was originally white, but perhaps there was some color in that. I don't know. And I'm looking forward to digging into this further and figuring out where all this color is coming from. You have to remember, even something that survives to this day may not survive as it was then.
Absolutely. Like Jenny said, it's so fascinating to think about the colors and how this would have worked. I mean, this is thousands and thousands of years later. Things change. If you think about the human lifespan, you go from being a cute little baby to being an older person in the span of 90 years. This is something that's been there for thousands and thousands of years. It's going to have changed and remade itself over and over again while remaining stationary.
So, Jen, you want to hit us with the next one?
So this one is actually mine. I'm going to do the Olympian Zeus, but not actually do him.
You know what? Let's just move on.
Let's move on. So, continuing this quote, Kronos is the father of Zeus in heaven, but Phidias is the father of Zeus in Ilus. Immortal nature was the parent of the former, but the hands of Phidias the latter. Those hands alone were capable of begetting gods. Blessed is that one person on earth who saw the king and had the ability to show the thunderer to others.
So Phidias is the sculptor.
Yeah. But if Zeus is embarrassed to be called the son of Phidias, skill was the mother of his representation. Nature produced elephants, and Africa abounds in herds of elephants, just so that Phidias could cut the tusks of the wild animals and work the matter with his hands into the form that he intended. I mean, I'm not cool with that, but this is the ancient world, and there are many things that I'm not cool with.
It seems to be saying that this is made of ivory, this statue. Whereas we just wonder at the other 6 wonders, we kneel in front of this one in reverence, because the execution of the skill is as incredible as the image of Zeus is holy. The work brings praise, and the immortality brings honor. Those were the good old days for Greece, when her wealth in the world of the gods surpassed any other people's wealth at any subsequent time, when she had an artist who was a creator of immortality unmatched by any that later ages produced, when it was possible to show men how the gods looked, appearances which it was never to be possible for other ages to see. Certainly, Phidias is the champion over Olympus for the longest time, just as in the same way as facts are better than guesswork, knowledge better than inquiry, and sight better than hearing.
He's making a lot of assumptions here that I don't necessarily agree with. This is going to be my topic, and I'm super excited about it because there's so much interesting stuff about these ancient statues, right? What exactly did they look like? I'm also interested to dive into what the color of it would have been. There was recently an exhibit, Jenny and our friend Liv went to it, called Chroma, about the colorings of ancient statues. So I'm really excited to paint a picture of how this Zeus would have looked. I've seen a couple of things already where it's it looks like he's sitting, but if he stood up, he would crack the bonds of the temple that held him. And he's supposed to look so lifelike. There's also a few other good stories, but I'm not going to tell you them just yet. You're going to have to wait for the episode.
So the next one is the Colossus of Rhodes.
This one is also mine. So continuing the quote, Rhodes is an island in the sea. It had been hidden below the sea for a long time. But then Helios revealed it and requested of the gods that the new island be his own. On this island stands a colossus, 120 feet high and representing Helios. The statue is recognizable as being of Helios because it has his distinctive features. The artist used a quantity of bronze that might have exhausted the mines, for the molten image of the structure was the bronze work of the world. Perhaps Zeus poured down marvelous wealth on the Verdians precisely so that they could honor Helios in spending it on the erection of... I can't.
Helios is watching him masturbate.
In spending it on the erection of the statue of the god, layer upon layer, from the ground up to the heavens and the dong, the artist secured it firmly from the inside with iron frames and squared blocks of stone, of which the horizontal bars exhibit hammerwork in the Cyclopean fashion. The hidden part of the work is bigger than the visible parts.
I bet it is.
Grower, not a shower. Further questions strike the admiring spectator. What kind of fire tongs were used? What size were the bases of the anvils? With what workforce was such a weight of poles forged?
Does the statue have a dong? It's a question that is sometimes harder to answer than you would think, but no, not here. We know quite a few things about Helios' erection. And why is ancient history so filthy?
Because gentlemen scholars were repressed and, had to say everything in the most clinical terms, which then became filthy.
I actually don't know if the person translating this is a gentleman scholar or more modern.
All I'm saying is a lot of these very clinical, scientific, building terms like the erection of something or the explosive climatic events and volcanic science, we get what's going on. You're all a little horny and we're here for it.
Moving on. So, a base of white marble was laid down. And on this, he first set the feet of the Colossus up to the ankle bones. He had already conceived in his mind the proportions in which the 120-foot god was going to be built, since the soles of the feet on the base were already at a greater height than the other statues, and you know what they say about dudes with big feet.
They need big sandals, right? I just wanted to be very deadpan there.
It was impossible to lift up the rest and set it on top. The ankles had to be cast on top, and, just as happens in building houses, the whole work had to rise on top of itself. Wasn't there a thing about the Colossus of Rhodes, or was it the statue of Olympian Zeus in Assassin's Creed Odyssey?
It's in Assassin's Creed, yeah.
The statue has a very visible dong and you could climb on it, okay? They were picking up what our good friend Philus of Byzantium was putting down.
Oh yeah, this would most likely have been a very naked statue.
Very blessed by the gods, shall we say.
I'm not sure about that because usually they had thinking men's penises.
It would have been big just because of the statue was big, but proportionally, it was a grower, not a shower. Philo is very specific about that.
Continuing this quote, and for this reason, in the case of other statues, artists first make a mold, then divide it into parts, cast them, and finally put them all together and erect the statue. But the artist of the Colossus cast the first part and then molded the second part on the first, and when the second part had been cast in bronze, built the third part on top of that. He used the same method of construction for the remaining parts, for it was not possible to move the metal parts.
He's getting really in the weeds here.
He is. I will not be getting this in the weeds.
What parts are on top of the other parts, Jen?
Well, he's just saying, because it was so big, he kind of had to build it on top of each other. It's fascinating. When the casting had been done on the earlier worked parts, the intervals of the bars and the joints of the framework were taken care of, and the structure was held steady with stones that had been put inside. So that throughout the construction he might retain his conception unshaken, he continually poured an immense mound of earth round the finished parts of the Colossus, hiding what had already been worked on underground, and carried out the next stage of casting on the flat surface of what was underneath.
Little by little, he reached the goal of his dream, and at the expense of 500 bronze talents and 300 silver talents, of millions of billions of dollars, he made his god equal to the god. He produced a work outstanding in its boldness, for on the world he set a second Helios facing the first.
So I want to stop for a minute here because I'm so excited about the Colossus of Rhodes. Again, I think both Jenny and I were like, we both wanted to do it. In the end, I got to do it, which makes me super happy. But I'm super excited because they don't exactly know how this was stood up. There are some people who are like, did it straddle the harbor of Rhodes?
That's what I thought. It was doing some straddling was how I pictured it.
Yeah. Or was it just in one place? How exactly did it work? And I mean, all that bronze, like that must have cast a lot of reflections. And I mean, if you've been in the Mediterranean in the summer, that would be kind of wild. I'm so excited to dive into this. I'm also obviously going to tell you what they think it looked like, most likely naked. I didn't know when I wanted to do the Colossus of Rhodes that they thought it was Helios, but I'll give you a little bit of the Helios lore as well while I'm in there. You know I can't resist.
You know, Helios can't resist watching you masturbate.
What else does he have to do? He just runs around, and watches everyone masturbate and gets all your secrets and judges your statue. And if it's not good enough, he's going to tell you.
Exactly. Look, I would be doing the exact same thing if I was Helios. I'm not judging. I'm not shaming. Anyway, so the next one is the Walls of Babylon. This is a wild card, right? The Walls of Babylon.
It's a wild card, and it's Jenny's one.
It's not in the original list, so we're actually not covering it.
Oh yeah, we're not covering it. This is replaced in the list by the Hanging Gardens of Babylon in the finalist. No, the Lighthouse.
It's replaced by the Lighthouse of Alexandria. The Lighthouse is not in Philo's list. It's in later lists, and I talk about the history of the list as we know it today a little bit towards the end. But this is Philo's list. He included the Walls of Babylon in place of the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Pele, Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes, fire, and rebirth.
Maeve, Celtic warrior queen and nemesis of heroes.
Kiyohime, Japanese fire-breathing snake demon.
Pesta, Norwegian spirit of the Black Death. Our book, Women of Myth, is a fascinating look at women and femme characters in world mythology, including goddesses, heroines, and monsters. With captivating illustrations by Ringo Award-nominated artist Sarah Richard, it's the perfect gift for the mythology lover in your life, including yourself.
Find Women of Myth wherever books are sold.
This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
So let's talk about the Walls of Babylon. Again, continuing this quote, Semiramis, the legendary queen of Babylon, was rich in royal inventiveness. So when she died, she left a treasure of a wonder behind. She laid down foundations 41 miles long and walled Babylon. The perimeter wall is long enough to exhaust a long-distance runner. The wall is striking not only on account of its length, but also on account of the solidity of its structure and the width of the recesses inside it, for it is built from baked brick and bitumen. The wall is more than 80 feet high, and 4 four-horse chariots can simultaneously ride along the width of the circular track on top. There are consecutive multi-storied towers along the wall, which are capable of housing a whole army. The city is, thus, the advanced fortification of Persia. From the outside, you would not guess that it encloses within itself a habitation.
Thousands and thousands of men live inside the city's round wall, and no women, just men. The size of the land outside the walls, which is farmed, is hardly bigger than the built-up area in Babylon, and the farmers outside the walls are as foreigners to those people living within the wall.
I mean, obviously women lived in there, but yeah, this is super fascinating. It's actually a shame that it didn't make our list. I'd love to know more about the Walls of Babylon, but yeah, this is on Philo's list, but not the official list.
I may do an episode on the Walls of Babylon, and it might be for the Patreon. So stay tuned. If you're interested in that, join the Patreon, and it may come up. We'll see if I get the time. Hopefully I will. But it's a thought that I had, and one thing that really interests me about this is also, how big the walls are, but the farmers outside the walls are as foreigners to those people living within the wall. Just that's actually interesting to me because it makes sense that there would be a real cultural divide between outsiders and insiders in a city like this. And I bet that isn't the only place where that was the case.
Oh, totally. I think it's just super fascinating, just the scope of it and, just what it would have looked like. I mean, I'm so fascinated by ancient Babylon. I feel like it's a place we have not been yet, and I really want to go there and dive in to the mythology and the culture and the people. Like, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I would love to do that too. Maybe we'll start off by covering these walls and then see where it takes us.
So our next wonder is the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, and this is going to be one I cover. So the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus is the only house of the gods. Whoever looks will be convinced that a change of place has occurred, that the heavenly world of immortality has been placed on the earth. For the giants or the sons of Aeolus who attempted an ascent to heaven made a heap out of mountains and built not a temple, but Olympus. The result is that the work exceeds the enterprise in boldness, and likewise the skill exceeds the work. The architect loosened the bottom of the underlying ground and then dug out trenches to a great depth and laid down the foundations underground. The quantity of masonry expended on the structures below the ground amounted to whole quarries of mountains. He ensured its unshakable steadiness, and, having previously set Atlas under the weight of the parts, first he set down the outside of the base with 10 steps, and on that base he raised, and this is where the manuscript stops.
Oh, cliffhanger. What did he raise?
I don't know, but I did a little bit of looking into this temple, and I feel like when I looked into it, I think this is correct. I might be wrong. The temple itself was very high up and very shrouded in clouds, and it was really, really beautiful. And as we've mentioned, it's a very unusual temple. It's got this Artemis who has her entire body is pretty much covered in all these egg-shaped breasts. And they think there was also a waterfall like that. This is the temple where Cleopatra's sister was sent to when she was exiled by Julius Caesar. There's so much rich history here.
She was killed on the steps, right?
Yeah, I think they sent her there first, and then they killed her on the steps. I don't know if it was...
She lived there for a while.
It's just absolutely, I cannot wait to dive into what they think this temple looked like, who got sent there, and why they got sent there. It's fascinating that they sent Berenice. I think it was Berenice who got sent there.
No, it was Arsinoe. Berenice was executed by her own dad because she wouldn't marry any of the suitors in her palace, and she killed one of the suitors in the palace. She had him strangled, and then she tried to usurp her dad's throne, and then he had her beheaded.
It's fascinating that they sent Arsinoe there. That's not her religion or culture. To send her to this temple, what was the significance of this temple and that place? I can't wait to dig into it. And I'm sure there'll be some mythology I uncover along the way.
So, a few things to note here. We're now at the end of the list. And first is that the manuscript breaks off after the sixth wonder. We're not 100% sure what Philo's list would have included as the seventh, but most historians are pretty sure that it is the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, because he mentions Halicarnassus in his intro. Second, there are a few differences between this list and the traditional version we introduced you to at the beginning of the episode. Philo lists all the pyramids at Giza, not just the Great Pyramid, and he swaps out the Library of Alexandria for the walls of Babylon, as we discussed, and that's actually not unusual. The list of 7 wonders has changed throughout the centuries. Callimachus' Cyrene allegedly had the Ishtar Gate of Babylon on his list, which I think is in a museum somewhere today. You can still see it. Diodorus Siculus, writing from 60 to 30 BC, included a large Babylonian obelisk, 130 feet high and 25 feet wide, allegedly quarried from the mountains of Armenia and set up by Queen Semiramis. So she appears twice on these lists, but not in the final version that we think is the original version, which maybe isn't.
Antipater of Sidon was another ancient list maker. He was a poet who lived in Rome sometime between the 2nd and 1st centuries BC, so roughly the time of Julius Caesar and his pals. Cicero mentions him, and he said he's, quote, a brilliant epigrammist, sometimes too fond of imitation. An epigram is a short, witty, poetic statement, which in ancient Greece originally appeared on gravestones. His list also swaps out the Lighthouse of Alexandria for the walls of Babylon.
They're a little bit more original than the Lighthouse of Alexandria, because that didn't appear until later.
Yeah. So, quote, I have set eyes on the wall of lofty Babylon, on which is a road for chariots, and the statue of Zeus by the Alpheus, and the Hanging Gardens, and the Colossus of the Sun, and the huge labor of the High Pyramids, and the vast tomb of Mausolus. But when I saw the house of Artemis that mounted to the clouds, those other marvels lost their brilliancy. And I said, Lo, apart from Olympus, the sun never looked on aught so grand. See, up in the clouds, sexy.
Well, he's saying that the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus is more impressive than the pyramids. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement.
It is a bold statement, and we'll never know because we can't see it.
Exactly.
Like that's the sad thing. Like, of these wonders, like the statue of Artemis from Ephesus is still here, and obviously we have the pyramids, but I don't think there's anything else, right?
No, everything else is lost to time. So this list is an artifact of something that we can no longer see. So anyway, back to Philo of Byzantium, who wrote his list in 225 BC, the list that we just read you. This is more of an essay than a list, really, and was probably the first writer to popularize the list making. It's after his list that we find lists of the seven wonders really taking off, and other writers imitating them in the centuries to follow. It's most likely that this document introduced the world to the idea of a list of seven wonders, even if that list doesn't exactly match what we think of as the seven wonders today, and it isn't the first instance of the list. But what was the list of seven wonders trying to say exactly? What was the purpose of these lists? Why did lists of seven wonders become so trendy and popular at this particular time in the ancient world?
Well, so Philo's list of seven wonders dates to 225 BC. We mentioned before that some scholars don't think he wrote Seven Wonders of the World. There are some who name the author Pseudo-Philo of Byzantium and think it might be a much later work, possibly written by a different Philo of Byzantium, also known as Philo the Paradoxographer, who lived in the 4th or 5th century AD.
Yeah, it's like Phlegon of Tralles, right? Like, these wild, fantastical tales that are not true. They're just sort of the Ripley's believe it or not of the ancient world. So I kind of question if Philo the Paradoxographer, he wouldn't have made a list of seven actual wonders, right?
No, he would have made a list of seven impossible to be true sort of things that you could say. But we know the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus existed. We know that.
Most of these, except for the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, I don't believe there's a question if these things existed.
But anyway, here's the theory that explains why lists of the seven wonders suddenly became popular during this time. If we're going with the first theory that Philo's list dates to around 225 BC, that's just about 100 years after Alexander the Great expanded the Greek world to include vast swaths of territory in Persia, Babylon, Egypt, and other places. In the generation or two that followed, the Greeks had a lot more territory that was considered, quote-unquote, safe, although still probably quite dangerous by today's travel standards.
These territories, the theory goes, became safer and more welcoming to Greek travelers, essentially because they became more Hellenized in that century after Alexander's conquest. And I have not done a deep dive into the War of the Diadochi yet. This is probably a questionable statement in some ways, but I can't speak to a whole lot of that then. I'll probably have strong opinions once I've done that arc. But anyway, so in the generation or two after that conquest, theoretically, it became trendy for privileged Greeks to go sightseeing. These wonders were in places made newly accessible in conquered territories. So these lists of seven wonders were kind of like a list of top 10 tourist spots you can Google today. They were travel writing. Specifically, though, colonialist travel writing. Authors writing about the seven wonders didn't just extol those wonders themselves, they also praised the virtue of Greece and their superiority over other cultures while they were doing it.
Yeah, this is where we stop having fun and we go to the dark side. So, from Philo of Byzantium again, quote, "Those were the good old days for Greece, when her wealth in the world of the gods surpassed any other people's wealth at any subsequent time." Fuck my life. When she had an artist who was a creator of immortality unmatched by any that later ages produced. When it was possible to show men how the gods looked, appearances which it was never to be possible for other ages to see. I mean, thoughts?
So that passage, I believe, is like right before the Pyramid of Giza. And he talks about how incredibly wealthy and powerful the people who built the pyramids of Giza must have been to create this staircase to the gods that bring the gods down from the heavens and bring men up to the gods and all that. But then he kind of insists that the Greeks were even wealthier than the Egyptians and even better at bringing the gods down to earth.
I think this in particular is about the Olympian Zeus. Like, from what I've read, like, the statue is supposed to be so unnerving and lifelike and, like, really quite terrifying in a lot of ways that I think that's what he means here. But I totally agree with you. And also, like, remember Artemis with all her boobs. Like, what did the gods really look like?
Well, I guess, what they're saying in that passage is Phidias is the authority on that. Certainly not the Egyptians, who also had amazing statues of gods.
Yeah, I mean, very, very beautiful, lifelike, realistic statues of gods, which some of the color of that still stays into this day, which is incredible. So, the list of 7 wonders continued to be reproduced, discussed, and changed over the centuries into the medieval and the Renaissance and even modern times. And the original OG version, the one that most likely fueled all this, was Philo of Byzantium's list, because that's the one that got disseminated widely throughout the Greco-Roman world.
It was Philo's list that the Venerable Bede was probably inspired by when he created his own list. So the Venerable Bede was a Christian monk from England who lived from 672 to 735 AD, and whose seminal work is the Ecclesiastical History of the English People. So he was a historian from, like, I don't know if you consider this the very, very early medieval age or prior to that. I think the Dark Ages has gone out of fashion, but around there. Bede mentions Hadrian's Wall and claims it was 12 feet tall in his time, and now it's like 3 to 4 feet high. And this varies, of course, depending on where you are. But another funny thing is that Bede attributes the wall to Septimius Severus. So he's wrong a lot. Make of that what you will. Anyway, so Venerable Bede also published a list of 7 wonders. And I'm going to read you that list as well. It is shorter than Philo's list, and I think it's real fun and unexpected, which is why I included this too.
Walmart Business is in the business of saving you time, money, and hassle. Whether your business started in a garage or is a garage, Walmart Business has the tools to help you get where you're going. Tools like free shipping, multi-user accounts, and just about any item your company needs.
Even a double filtration cyclone dust collector.
Yep, even that.
Sweet.
Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love. Now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com. Terms apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
So, here is Bede's version of the 7 wonders. Quote, the Capitol at Rome, the first wonder that he lists. Of the 7 wonders of the world, made by the hand of man, the first is the Capitol at Rome, the very salvation of the inhabitants, and greater than a whole city. In it were statues of the nations subdued by the Romans, or images of their gods, and on the breasts of the statues were inscribed the names of the nations which had been conquered, with bells hanging from their necks. Priests or watchmen attended on these by turns, day and night, and showed much care in watching them. If either of them should move, the bell made a noise, and so they knew what nation was rebelling against the Romans. When they knew this, they communicated the information by word of mouth or by writing to the Roman princes, that they might know against what nation they were next to turn the Roman arms. So I think by the capital at Rome, he means the city of Rome. And according to him, it was full of these moving statues. And like, if the statue moved, that means that that territory is rebelling, so they have to go reconquer it.
Weird. I kind of wonder if they were herms, like barrier marking ones for each area, but I don't know. So the next wonder is the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which did make it into our list, and Jenny is covering.
Oh, look, somebody has included the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Isn't that nice?
The second, and this is continuing the quote, the second is the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which was founded on 4 glass arches, 20 paces deep beneath the sea. The wonder is how such large arches could be made, or how they could be conveyed without breaking. how the foundations, which are cemented together above, could adhere to them, or how the cement could stand firm under the water, and why the arches are not broken, and why the foundations cast in above do not slip off.
The third is the figure of the Colossus on the island of Rhodes, 136 feet long and cast of melted metal. The wonder is how such an immense mass could be cast, or how it could be set up and not fall. Well, actually, Philo of Byzantium gives you all the details on that, so somebody just did not read his Philo, clearly.
Obviously, a lot of rocks, a lot of stones, a lot of framework, and then pouring the molten bit over and over and over.
See, you put the cast on top of the other cast. You do that a lot.
It puts the lotion on the cast or else it gets the hose again.
Exactly, Jen. Thank you. I think that's a direct quote.
Always here to put a creepy Silence of the Lambs quote in. Anyway. Right. So the next one I've never heard of before, but fascinates me. The figure of Bellerophon. And he's the one who rode, according to Liv, he's the only one who rode Pegasus. And that is true. So, quote, the fourth wonder is the iron figure of Bellerophon on horseback, which hangs suspended in the air over the city, and he has neither chains nor anything else to support it, but great magnetic stones are placed in vaults, and so it is retained in assumption or position, and remains in balanced measure. Now the calculation of its weight is about 5,000 pounds of iron. I can just imagine the wings of that horse, oh.
Right, this is really striking me as a pseudo-historical Robert Schoch situation, positing that they were using magnets to move megaliths in ancient Egypt and stuff, because you notice that he's this 5,000-pound statue. It's suspended over some city, it doesn't say which one. Not with chains or anything else, but with magnets.
I have thoughts of how it could have been suspended, and I think they wouldn't have been magnets. I think they would have been something else, and you could use that wingspan of the horse to essentially make it look like it was flying, but not really be flying. But this is just me, and this is not one of the wonders we're covering. Maybe I'll do it on the Patreon, because now I'm interested.
Yeah, maybe we'll put it up on the Patreon, maybe address some of these wonders that the Venerable Bede covers. This is a strange one. Anyway, so the next one is the Theater of Heraclea. The fifth wonder is the Theater of Heraclea, carved out of one piece of marble, so that all the cells and 158 rooms of the wall and the dens of the beasts are made out of one solid stone. It is supported on 4 arches, carved out of the same stone, and no one can whisper in the whole circle so low, either to himself or to another, without being heard by every one who is in the circle of the building. So this is interesting, too. It's like a whole Colosseum-type building that is made of one block of stone. I will say that the acoustics in some of those ancient theaters are spooky like this. I remember I went to the one, and there's several in Pompeii, and I went to one with Liv, and she was standing, at the bottom, in the theater area, and I was up at the top. And she said something, and I heard it all the way up there very clearly. So those acoustics are real. They did have that.
I was in Greece doing some sightseeing, and I went to the theater at Epidaurus, and this is one of the oldest, most ancient theaters, and it also has those incredible acoustics. You can stand on one particular spot and clap or snap your fingers, and someone can hear you way, 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 way in the back. I think they still sometimes perform plays there. It is absolutely incredible how they worked out the acoustics. And the theater is still really intact. It's still in really good shape. I mean, obviously, they've done some stuff to maintain it throughout the centuries, but it's just incredible. So the sixth wonder is the baths of Apollotanius. The sixth wonder is the bath, which is such that when Apollotanius has lighted it with one candle of consecration, it keeps the hot baths continually burning without being attended to. That's all we got, and I say it's a hot spring.
Volcanoes did it.
It's always volcanoes did it. That's my new motto.
So the last one is the Temple of Diana. Oh, look, one on the original list. That's a change.
This is not the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. This is the Temple of Diana. This is different, I think.
Not the same thing?
I don't think so.
Would think that it would be the same thing.
Well, Diana is definitely the Roman name, and it could be Artemis, but I imagine they would have said the Temple of Diana at Ephesus, and they're not saying that. So it might be a different one.
Remember, this is Venerable Bede writing this, the 600s to 700s AD, so he's kind of after the fact. So Roman names for things are probably pretty common.
Potentially, and we didn't get enough of a description of the Temple of Artemis earlier to know if he's talking about the same thing.
We might have stronger opinions on this after we do that episode. So, the seventh wonder is the Temple of Diana on 4 pillars. Its first foundations are arched drains. Then it increases gradually, upper stones being placed on the former arches. Thus, upon these 4 are placed 8 pillars and 8 arches. Then in the third row, it increases in a like proportion, and stones still higher are placed thereon. On the 8 are placed 16, and on the 16, 32. The fourth row of stones is on the fifth row of arches, and 64 pillars complete the plan of this remarkable building. So many pillars, so many arches. Goodness.
So even by the Venerable Bede's time, you can tell that he is deviating greatly from the ancient lists. He includes the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which Philo doesn't include, as well as the Temple of Diana and the Colossus of Rhodes. But everything else is totally different, and it's debatable if it's the same temple, Diana and Artemis, but we'll know soon. He notably doesn't include the pyramids, which I find very odd.
Which brings me to another question, which maybe you might have been asking yourself all along. We know that the earliest list of 7 wonders probably came from Herodotus, which is around the 400s BC or thereabouts. But where did the items that we consider canon now, where did that specific list come from? If you remember, here's the list that pops up if you just Google 7 wonders of the ancient world. I'm just going to read it to you again in case you need the reminder. It is the Great Pyramids of Giza,
the Colossus of Rhodes,
the Lighthouse of Alexandria,
the statue of Zeus at Olympia,
the Hanging Gardens of Babylon,
the mausoleum at Halicarnassus,
and the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. So where did this version come from? Some of the ancient and historic lists are similar to this. Some vary by just one item, and some are wildly different. But where does this specific list come from? Because so far in our explorations, I haven't seen it.
Scholars have noticed this too. Here's a quote from an article by historians John and Elizabeth Romer. Quote, "In common with many other popular images and ideas, the precise origin of this list, called the 7 Wonders of the World, is now lost to us. References to the 7 wonders abound in classical writings, yet most of these ancient texts are ambiguous in their authorship, disputed in their dates, and serve only to underline the impression that the 7 wonders of the world were as well known and perhaps as little recited then as they are now. Securely dated written evidence shows that the first full modern version of the list of the 7 wonders actually appeared less than 4 centuries ago, in Italy in 1608. And even after that date, the 7 constituents of that list were not firmly fixed until the arrival of mass printing and popular education in the last century."
Ever since the list of 7 wonders has existed, people have been changing it. Christian writers added sites from the Bible, such as Solomon's Temple and Noah's Ark. The list as we know it today may not have been written down until 1608 and only became widely known through mass printing centuries later. And even in modern times, people have been making adjustments to this list, and with good reason, as the original list only included wonders from the ancient Greco-Roman world. That leaves a lot of places out.
In 2001, for example, a Swiss foundation, the New 7 Wonders Foundation, based in Zurich, started a campaign to create a new list of wonders from all over the world. The decision of what to include on the list was made by polling the public, mostly online, although a little by phone. The US-based polling organization, Zogby International, declared it, quote, the largest poll on record. The list of the new 7 wonders of the world was eventually determined to be, number 1, the Great Wall of China.
Petra, an ancient city in Jordan.
The incredible ancient city of Petra. It's gorgeous. The Colosseum.
Chichen Itza in Mexico.
Machu Picchu in Peru.
The Taj Mahal in India.
And the statue of Christ the Redeemer, which is a giant statue of Jesus standing on a hill above Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. It was built in 1931. It's a huge landmark in Brazil. The Great Pyramid of Giza got honorary status, and I have so many questions about these wonders because they're not all ancient. Some are modern.
Well, they're the 7 wonders of the world. They're not necessarily the 7 ancient wonders of the world on this list. Theoretically, you could put like skyscrapers on there or something.
Yeah, I just don't know how the Great Pyramid of Giza doesn't make this list.
Well, it's all voted on the public, and it won't surprise you, Jen, to hear that the new 7 wonders list has been declared problematic by some. So all of these items were determined by popular vote. And one of the reasons that some people find this list problematic is that people could go online and vote as many times as they wanted. And having something from your country or your region on the list would theoretically give you a lot of tourist revenue. So there were campaigns in various countries to get people to basically flood the list with votes. Some people say that the list isn't fair because it's not just one person, one vote.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people didn't love this list, and a lot of the reason had to do with how the votes were counted. Some derided the list as just a way to drive advertising dollars and media attention. However, one tragic thing about the original list of 7 ancient wonders that we've discussed already is that only one of them survives today. And perhaps that's why in modern times, the list of 7 wonders of the world has taken on new meaning, not just as a colonialist travelogue, but as a list of places to preserve and defend. And this new ethos has given rise to another modern list that I came across, which is the 7 natural wonders of the world. And this is a departure because up until this list, all the wonders that I came across were man-made.
So, the 7 natural wonders were chosen by an organization, the 7 natural wonders that arose in 2008 out of the New 7 Wonders movement, to create a list of natural wonders from every continent. This campaign tried to avoid problematic aspects of the last New 7 Wonders movement by avoiding marketing, social media, and public voting. The wonders were chosen by a global network of experts in the natural world.
Which again is a little bit gatekeepy. Like, I don't necessarily see that as unproblematic itself, but it's just different problems, right?
Yeah, totally different problems. But this is the list that they came up with. The Aurora Borealis, or the Northern Lights.
The Great Barrier Reef.
The Grand Canyon.
Paricutin, which is a cinder cone volcano in Mexico.
Victoria Falls.
Mount Everest.
And the harbor of Rio de Janeiro. So, what makes a wonder? That's a question we mean to answer when we get through discussing each of the wonders on the original list. Although what the original list is also up to debate, and create our own list of wonders, which it turns out is completely in keeping with this tradition. We aren't going to follow the list of New 7 Wonders, although we may use a few of the same things when we get to our own list.
Maybe, maybe not. We're leaving it open.
We're leaving it open. And when we get to our own list, we're going to try to make it as non-Greco-Roman as much as possible.
I think we just shouldn't have anything Greco-Roman. I think it's been covered.
I think it's been covered. I don't think there's going to be anything in the Greco-Roman world that's going to surprise me more than something somewhere else. So I'm pretty confident saying that. We've also covered a few places that I would say, in my opinion, are contentions for 7 wonders that we might make a case for throughout the time, but we will be covering all new places this time.
Yeah, it's going to be all new places. Like, I think there are things like Teotihuacan is a really great example. This probably deserves a mention on a list of 7 wonders, but we've already covered it, so we're not going to include it. And we might just re-release that as we go, because I think we're going to do a bunch of re-releases this season too. As we've said, we're now going bi-monthly this season, although that actually, it might be more monthly because we're also doing this book club, which is going to go out on alternate Thursdays whenever we have those episodes, possibly irregularly, and then when we don't have that, we will throw up a re-release that will probably, as long as we can find them, be something that we consider a wonder of some kind that we can't put on our list because we've already talked about it. That's it. That's it for this week. Join us in 2 weeks when we talk about whatever we're talking about next, or potentially in a week. We don't know what's happening. It's a surprise. In the meantime, catch up with us on social at Ancient History Fangirl on Instagram, which is where we are mainly now. We have exodized ourselves from Twitter. Same account on Facebook and Threads. Ancient Hist Fan on Twitter, which is basically dead. And join our Patreon at patreon.com/Ancient History Fangirl.
Our Twitter account is just basically updates. If you want to really interact with us, we're really on Instagram and Threads more these days. And Jenny, we have some patrons to thank.
We do. We apologize profusely if we mispronounce your name.
We would not be able to make this podcast without our patrons. We have a lot to thank because we've been off. We haven't been recording for a couple of months. We really appreciate all of your support. While it sounds like a long list, we constantly get patrons and some drop off. So we still need your support, and please do join the Patreon for extra content and, to find out more about what's going on behind the scenes.
So thank you again to Kara Koffel,
Brooke Tulos,
Kendra B,
Aubrey Duell,
Jay Dykey,
Arn Sivertson,
Ponta Riste,
Madavi Gavini,
Rachel Bricker,
Renee Ondine,
Aaron Hicks,
Christina Asilanoglu,
Deborah Netzger,
Bill Griffin,
Zoe Elwood,
Kaveh Valem,
J.M. Benoit,
Taylor, just Taylor,
Maddie Knob,
Tylee Elliott,
Sydney Harris,
Jenny Geisler,
Elena Kopitova,
Kay Lund,
Saga Ravin,
Jamian,
Jamie Elizabeth,
McKenna Vanderpool,
and Kristen Grisham. Thank you for your support. We can't say how much we appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we will see you whenever we see you next.